Yo, what's going on? Today I want to talk about a little warm-up routine that I came up with in Flowstate aim training that's allowed me to consistently climb and get that juicy RP. If you don't know what R5reloaded is or Flowstate aim trainer is, definitely recommend looking up a video on how to install it. This will not be going over the installation. This is just a little warm-up routine that I came up with that really has made me a better player. Dope. So we're here back in Flowstate aim trainer in R5reloaded. I want to give a quick brief rundown of how this works. If you've already used Flowstate, then you probably want to skip this part. But if you're new, these are your challenges. These are pretty much all the challenges you're going to be choosing from that'll practice different skills. So you have strafing dummies, and you have arc star throwing, and you have shooting Valk's ultimate, and you get shooting from lift as a horizon. Then we have a history tab, which is just all the history that you have in the session. It's not global. This is just for the session only. It'll show up there once you start completing challenges. Later, moving on to the settings, you can obviously change your weapon and your character. Dummy shield level. I've used this later on. First start with white, and then work your way up. The more you get comfortable, you can go all the way to red, especially if you're really trying to nail down these challenges. After that, we got dummy health, which I really would just keep the same. You kind of want to practice with normal health. Strafing speed, I would change this. I'd go from normal to demon, starting off with normal, of course, and the more you get used to it, and the more you want to challenge yourself, I'd up the speed of the dummy. Dummy spawn distance, I'd only really use that for certain challenges like Valk's ultimate. You just want those dummies to spawn closer to you. Sometimes it's a little bit annoying when they're too far. Auto reload on hit, I'd enable that. Unless you're practicing one magging, then I would disable that. But for now, we just have that enabled. Yeah, so there's times where I want to practice my aim, and I can't really do it in game without losing a bunch of RP. That's why I go to Flowstate aim trainer. And the reason I chose these challenges in the order I did is because I feel like they're just a solid foundation overall for getting better at the game. They practice those skills that will really just carry you into those high ranks. This is just my warm-up routine. I chose these challenges simply because I like them, and once again, like I said, I feel like they improve on the skills that I need improving on. Yeah, so these are just a good foundation, but change it up a little bit. If you feel like you need to work on your arc star throwing or shooting Valkyrie's ultimate, do whatever you need to do to get that good warm-up in before you hop into ranked games. Trust me, it'll save everyone the headache. Yeah, so without further ado, let's hop into the routine. Right, so the routine is going to look a little something like this. First, we're going to start off with target switching. This will let you do a little peripheral for your eyes, get all those enemies coming in, and it'll let you track on the X plane. We're going to be doing fast jump straights, which will help a lot with flicking. Then we'll move on to popcorn targets, which also will help with the peripheral and help you track on the Y plane too. Then we'll do tile frenzy just to round everything off. And lastly, but not least, we'll move on to 1v1s, which I'll show on later. So let's go back to the first, target switching. Target switching is a good overall challenge that I used to warm up with. It kind of encompasses everything, a little bit of flicking, a little bit of tracking. The biggest thing is I would mess around with the shield level. Start off with white, move your way up to red, try to hit as many shots, practice the weapon that you're trying to go with. For me, it's the wingman. I really need improvement on my wingman, so I've been using the wingman a lot in this challenge. And yeah, it's just a good place to start at the warm up, and it kind of, like I said, it does a little bit of everything. You get a bunch of enemies and you snap on from one to the other. Once you start getting better, I would start lowering the time, go for 1 minute and then go for 30 seconds, and then keep repeating until you feel really comfortable with this one. Right after that, we're jumping into fast jump strafes. This is really good for flicking and shooting against an enemy that has really solid movement. Bunch of micro movements here, so you really got to be careful where you're shooting at, especially with the wingman or single shot weapons. This is where you really want to practice your one magging. If you can really do well in this challenge and up the armor level to red and put the speed on to demon, you'll really amaze yourself. The movement of other players won't really affect you all that much because you'll be so used to it from this challenge. This is one of my favorites. I definitely recommend getting good at this one. Next, we're on to popcorn targets. You're really going to be tracking up and down, and this is why this challenge is so useful. Sometimes enemies are above you, and you really got to track when they come down and they go up. And this is where popcorn target shines. You're tracking up and down mostly, so it's not left to right. It might be hard to get used to, but once you get good at it, you'll get pretty consistent. This one is one of the reasons that I installed Flowstate, because you can't really practice this in the firing range. A player has movement when they're coming down. It'll make this a lot easier to track on them. This one's a lot of fun. Check it out. Okay, so the last one is going to be a little bit of a weird one, but hear me out here. So this is tile frenzy, and you grab a hit scan weapon and you kind of just point and click. Kind of weird, but trust me, it really does help just tracking things on your monitor. And sometimes having an exercise like this is just a good, place to round off on. While this not maybe too useful in game, it's still at the end of the day just point and click, point and click. I'd keep this challenge to 30 seconds. Sometimes it's a little too long and I start straining my eyes. But overall, it's just a good place to round off on. It might not be too useful, but it's still kind of fun. And last but not least, we have 1v1s. R5reloaded lets you connect to 1v1 arena servers, and they are pretty sweaty, but that does help you get super warmed up for ranked games. And I do recommend going into these 1v1s and just trying and just seeing how many kills you can get. And I think that's a pretty good warm up. Overall, they're pretty fun. Most of these players that you run into are pretty sweaty, but overall, it's a good challenge. Definitely recommend. Yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap up my warm up video for Flowstate Aim Trainer and R5 Reloaded. If you have any more questions over R5 Reloaded, or maybe you have a better warm up routine that you do, please drop it in the comments. I'd like to see it. I really like, I'm always trying to learn something new. So if you want to share something, please don't hesitate. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you have a great day and thanks for watching.